America. We were living in the east by the Nile River, living in luxury, enjoying freedom, justice, and equality. We wore silken robes and slippers of gold. We were the wealthiest and the wisest people untold. Now we are the poorest of the poor. Nobody wants us at their door. So my friend, it's easy to tell, white man heaven is a black man hell.
It's easy to tell, white man heaven is a black man hell.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that Master Farad Muhammad said 6 words to us, and these were the 6 most powerful words that he spoke. He said, accept your own and be yourself. Accept your own. The Caucasians who brought our fathers into slavery desired to take us away from our own people, our own culture, our own religion, our own God, our own language. So we have grown up in America away from our own mind, away from our own selves, and so we have been actually indoctrinated with an alien mentality.
10,000 fearless men, because we're going to have to challenge the things that are destroying our community. Sure. So this ain't no punk time. This ain't no temple time, mosque time, or church time. All the singing and shouting and preaching is over. Get in them streets now, block by block. We're going to have to clean it up. The airwaves is not enough. The television screen is not enough. You got to put boots on the ground who are trained and are willing to make the sacrifice of life itself to see our community made a decent place to live.
Attention. Drill.
Soldiering is a part of the Nation of Islam, and it readies all of us to obey the commands of God. Now some will ask, well, why military drill? Because this is what produces the camaraderie.
Facebook and Instagram thought that they could ban the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
But in reality, they can't, because he already lives in us and millions of others.
قل أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
In the name of Allah, Master Farad Muhammad, the one true and living God to whom praise is due forever. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah and that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is his messenger. Peace, family, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of WHID-FM. WHID-FM is your personal platform where those of us striving to follow the life-giving and life-saving teachings of the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as given to us by his premier pupil, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, gather right here in this virtual meeting place to answer that most critical question: what has Islam done for me? It is Sunday, June 9th, and at this time we're going to turn it over to that dynamic co-host of WHID-FM, our sister, Janine Muhammad, who is a superstar student here in the ministry at Muhammad Mosque number 6 under the leadership of our beloved brother, Imam Abdul Salam Muhammad. Sister Janine.
Assalamu alaikum, family, and thank you for joining us again for another episode of WHID-FM, where you hear the stories from our various guests about what Islam has done and continuing to do for them. I'm going to introduce our guest tonight, who is Sister Kimarie Muhammad. She's a single mother of 3 sons and 3 grandsons. Her youngest son turned 29 on January the 4th of this year. He is the reason why she started her Push for Love nonprofit. Push for Love supports parents and caregivers with special needs children emotionally and financially. As a single parent experiencing the challenges that follow a child with cerebral palsy, she wanted to help others that experience the same thing. She started her branding back in 2014 with the Push for Love apparel. The website is pushforlovegives.com. She also has a Push for Love songs and videos, which she was inspired to write from her own experiences in life. This can be found on her website, YouTube Music, and Spotify. She also has a YouTube channel where you can find all of the Push for Love activities. In 2022, she received her 501c3, which is her nonprofit. She also started Push for Love retreats. Her first retreat was on October 29, 2022, then April 2023, and October 7, 2023. In these events, she provides meditation sessions following a breakfast buffet, guest speakers on self-care, spoken words, poets, and it all surrounds love, self, and self-love. She provides a safe and loving space for the caregivers to share their story with them, which she finds and they also find therapeutic. All guests leave with a Push for Love gift bags. This is a time where caregivers celebrate and be around others that understand the struggle. As caregivers, she says, we give so much love to our loved ones, we forget who we are. We will continue to add on in each retreat health and wellness activities, such as breathing techniques, tapping sessions, and etc. And these are tools that we can use at any point we are feeling overwhelmed or stressed. The parents that participate in these events thank her for having these retreats. And one parent said she take her daughter to events all the time, but not once has anyone ever had an event for the parent. She thanks her for thinking about them, and she says she will return to the next retreat. The goal is to spread the word to as many people as possible so they can have a beautiful experience as well. In such cases, this is the only time caregivers come out and they're celebrated. To have a vision and to see it come alive, it's truly a proud moment for her. And she said, we help people that help people. So we'd like to introduce our guest for tonight, Sister Kimarie. Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Wa alaikum salam. Oh, that was sweet. So I wrote that.
Yes, ma'am. It's fine. We always have to celebrate ourselves and acknowledge what we're doing for our community. So we definitely appreciate it. And this is definitely a topic that, I definitely think we need to get into. So just starting off, can you give us a little background on yourself? What brought you to the Nation of Islam? And how did you start Push for Love Prophet? What inspired you to say you need to talk to other people about it?
Okay. Well, first of all, assalamu alaikum. And I'm so honored to be here today to kind of get into the story. How did I come into the nation? It's a couple of ways I could start it, but I would say one, my mom, she kind of asked me, she would ask me to come out to the mosque. And I didn't know what the mosque was or anything like that. And then when I start to understand, well, you know, come to the mosque, and I was like, okay, it's those Muslims, and I was like, I don't want to go to the mosque. I don't want to go to that. I don't want to have anything to do with that. But really, to make a long story short, that was the very thing that I was praying for. I was pushing away. Then one particular time, a girlfriend of mine, her and I, we went to H.D. Woodson. That's the school I actually graduated from, high school in Northeast DC. We went to see the minister there, and I've seen the minister before, but this particular time, I was like, well, we're going to go in, see the minister, and come back out and do what we normally do without foolishness. However, that particular time, I went in, sat down to hear the minister, and it was something he said in that lecture changed my life. Changed my life. And I'm going to go ahead and just say it, you know, because we all have a past before coming to the nation. And so I'm going to go ahead and say this, because without saying it, I don't think you will understand. But at that time, you know, we smoked a little something. And so when I went to hear the minister that particular day, in that lecture, he said, I know you left your marijuanas in the car. And that particular moment, something just changed. I was like, I felt like God was talking to me. I was like, how did he know that? You know? And so the desire of that disappeared. It just went away. And when I think about that moment, I was like so shocked. I'm like, I can't believe it, just the desire to do it anymore left just from him saying that. And that particular weekend, I went to mosque number 4, and the rest was history. And I was like, this is exactly what I was looking for. I was praying for. And Dr. Aline was the minister at the time. And as far as I know, that he was the next best thing, you know, to the minister as far as speaking, teaching. And like I say, the rest was history. That was back in 1991, 92. Yes. And wow, it was so many little steps from that point that led up to my nonprofit. The nonprofit, how did I really get into the nonprofit? I think after having my son, Jabril, I left from Gaithersburg, Maryland to go to Richmond. I got married. It didn't work out. So I had to come back home and start my life all over again. And that was a struggle because I started from like ground zero with a baby now, a young child that had special needs. And I already had 2 boys, but I never experienced this. So this here was actually very challenging. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had to sit down and think, okay, Kim, you're in a situation here. You have to take care of this, you know, your child here. And what are you going to do? I know when I first found out about his condition, I cried because I was like, my life is over. I was planning on going to school, and now I can't go to school. I won't be able to work. And then a little voice was like, you can still do, you know, what you plan to do. You just have to work around his situation. And that's pretty much what I did. But I had to figure out then, well, what do I want to do? So I thought about it, and I asked myself, Kim, what was the last thing you were doing that you enjoyed? And that was, I was on the serving team with the minister, Torchlight serving team, and I enjoyed serving. So that took me to culinary school. So from culinary school, got me back into the working world. I worked at the Marriott for a couple of years, and I worked into Montgomery County Schools in the cafeteria for 20 years. And I was then, from that point on, I ended up retiring. I took an early retirement so I could be home with him now, which was, such a blessing. But I guess somewhere along the line, somewhere in there, I always wanted to know, what's my purpose? I wanted to give back something of good. I wanted to, what do I need to do? Or what should I be doing to bring in Allah's world? And the answer just was not there. But I was searching, and I just kept seeking, I should say. And just one day I was talking to a Sister April in Richmond, Virginia. I think she was just on last week or something, And in the conversation with her, I kept saying push for love. I don't know what the conversation was, but within the conversation, I kept saying push for love, push for love. And when I think about it, at that time, push for love for me was push through any situation, or if you dealing this, whatever the solution is, if you're dealing with a person or a situation, look at the positive, push through, find a solution to the problem. And that's what it meant to me. And from that, really, the minister, I remember hearing a lecture that the minister had, he was speaking to the believers, and he said that how beautiful we are. He was like, Black people, we are so beautiful. We just have a lot of stuff that we have to look through the stuff, to get to it, right? So that was push for love. That it came from that push for love. That means you got to go deeper. You have to push through. You got to go deeper to see that in us, right? So all of that was happening, and I just kept saying the word, and I would think it when I'm going through stuff. I was like, Kim, just push for love, And she said to me, I thought it as Sister April said it to me out loud, you need to put that on a t-shirt. And I was like, I was just thinking, I need to put that on a t-shirt. And so that's what I did. We have thoughts, and sometimes, we don't move out on them. But I did, because I was looking for something positive, something good to do and to give back to society. So that's what I did. I put it on a t-shirt and started with just plain white t-shirts. Yes. And then from there, it just grew. People, they love the saying, push for love. And then someone will say, you have it in purple, or do you have it in orange, or you have it in, that's how I came up with all the different colors. Asking for different colors, and now I have about 9 different colors. And then I ended up with like sweatpants and hoodies and caps. I even make push for love soap. So that's the goal as far as the apparel, is to have really a collection of things. Now, as far as the nonprofit, I started that in 2022, and it's a struggle, it's a challenge, and it was just on my heart to start a nonprofit for parents with children with special needs. And it got to the point where it's like /caregivers, because it's all the same, really. It's all the same. And when I started this, and our first retreat was at the Marriott where I used to work, I didn't know how it was going to turn out, but it was so beautiful. It was only 20 people. We didn't start off with the the meditation room. We just had like a breakfast buffet. I had people that that had children with special needs. I let them get up and speak and share their experience. But that particular room, I decorated it with a color scheme, white tablecloth, because that's the other part. Being in culinary and on the serving team, I was also a worked at the as a banquet server, which I love. I love. And really, all of this came from being on the serving team. And I remember hearing the minister say, we have to learn how to serve our people. Now, I took it, it could have been, I'm sure, in a lot of different ways, but I took it like physically serving like food, because that's what I love to do. And so that's how but when I was a banquet server, people look down on that position, but I love it. And I was like, you really can't pay people attention when they, think that way. Some people really appreciate the fact that you're serving them, and I think it's such an honor, But I fixed the room up really, really nice, and it had sliding doors. So when everyone came into that room, it was decorated really pretty with flowers and the little sashes, the chair covers. It was just beautiful. And so each year, that's what we do. And but I have a different color scheme. So afterwards, I had someone to do a little video, and just so you can get some feedback on what people what they feeling. And, they loved it, and it was warm. It was very nice, loving. You felt the energy, and so thankful to Allah, because I do my prayers and say, Allah, just guide me, and just bless this to be. And every single time we've done 4. Well, we've done 3, and the 4th one is coming up in July. We're doing a boat retreat. I wanted to do something different for us. And then we're going to do another one in October the 5th, another retreat with what they called sound therapy first, with the CEOs, and then also have, last time we had like what they called I'm trying to make sure I have the words right, like spoken words. I always have someone singing something about love, motivational speakers, something to give us encouragement, something to think about. Because a lot of times as caregivers, it's so many, as talking to them and then experience it myself, and every situation is different. We have this thing where we don't pay much attention to ourselves. We totally forget about us. Along with, we have to be able to step away from your environment for a moment. And a lot of times I understand why, but we have to do this for ourselves. It's so many different reasons, because depending on your child's situation, if they autistic, they have cerebral palsy, where I have nurses that have to watch the braille. Some parents with children with that's autistic, they don't trust their children with just anybody, know. Yeah, so, and we fall into that, and I get it. So, but I'm like, we have to do it. We have to find a way to step away, because you're like the engine. You're that person that's taking care of them. And if you're not living your true life, you're more than just a caregiver, just taking care of them. We can do this. So that's when we come together. That's kind of what we talk about, and what Push for Love is trying to really bring about, and kind of change the way we think about ourselves. So I asked Allah, I say, okay, Allah, guide me. Where do you want me to take Push for Love? And the only thing that comes to me is heal. It's all about healing right now. Well, we know the whole world has to heal, but as caregivers, we have so many things that we have to deal with. We have to deal with ourselves, deal with the child or the adult, whoever's taking care of the child, school, work, whatever. And it's a lot. And some of us, if not a lot of us, we're single parents. I'm a single parent. I'm doing it all, I'm doing everything, everything. Very stressed, stressed at times. And so I started doing, which I've always been into the holistic. I love the natural healing. So learning how stress can affect the body.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, in so many ways. And so I get massages. I've seen acupuncturists. I've seen a craniosacral doctor. I've gotten, what they call it, lymphatic massages. And I experienced all of these things, and it's so wonderful. It's a beautiful, beautiful experience. So I continue to search and to kind of heal my body. So now I can bring and introduce to, I said our little community now.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and so it's so needed and necessary. So that's where I'm at right now with it, because it's so needed. It's so necessary to heal our bodies. We, along with, of course, eating right, but introducing like the sound therapy. I've experienced it with this young lady twice already, and it's amazing. It's an amazing experience. So I want to introduce it to the community.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these different, the lymphatic massage, a young lady, she's coming up from North Carolina to Crofton. And when she come, and that's a whole other story. I was just out of town, overnight for the weekend in North Carolina, and I met her because I was like, I have time, so I want to go get a massage. And she did lymphatic massages, and the rest is history. I went and got one, experienced it, and saw the amazing benefits. And now she's coming up to see to Dr. Yolanda, which is she's a holistic doctor. She does the same thing that Dr. Ling used to do.
Mm-hmm.
So now I connected them together. She's going down there, North Carolina, to Belinda's office, and then Belinda's coming up here to do lymphatic massage, probably sometime in July. So when that happens, I will just let people know.
Yes, ma'am.
We have to experience these things. It's a wonderful experience, and I love it.
Praise be to Allah. And my next question, Boss, before I turn it over to Brother West, a lot of times people that have special needs children may feel embarrassed that they have episodes with their children, or they may feel embarrassed in how they behave. And what responsibility does the village have to make sure they don't feel like they have to keep apologizing for their child with special needs?
Well, I think with that, and you're absolutely right. I know with my son, he's such an old soul. He's 29, but he get along more so with adults than children. It's always been that way. And I will watch him and I'm like, I wonder why. And I think with him, adults, they just talk to him regular. Where children, they have a whole bunch of questions, and they're so innocent. Well, why you like this? Well, why you in this chair? Well, what's wrong with you? He don't want to have to, and I figured out he just don't want to have to deal with all that, because he doesn't want to have to explain or try to explain. First of all, he's very smart, very intelligent, but his speech is not always clear. Some things are very clear. Some things are not as clear. He knows what he's saying, but it may not come out that way. It's kind of like if a person had a stroke, where they usually can talk, and then if you heard a person that ever had a stroke, their words are slur, so they can't really announce it as very well anymore. So it's kind of like that. He don't want to have to deal with that, right? So he doesn't really like being around children, little children. Now, as far as the community, I think that they just have to be educated. They just truly need to be educated, because they don't know. They really don't know, because I know me working in the school system, I work with little children because I'm the cafeteria lady, and it was in elementary school where I retired, and I saw the different disabilities. And some of those, especially if they're autistic, they look normal like any other child. And if they have a fit, sometimes they just look like a child that is just spoiled, that's just having a fit, right? And it looks the same. How would you know? And I didn't know. I experienced something like that, and where the child, I had to tell the child, well, no, you can't have the snack, because they would come through and get their lunch, and then they would come back and get a snack. And this child came back. He was in line. I didn't know his situation. He looked normal to me. And he didn't have money in his account. And I told him he had to put it back. He spit on me. He got upset and spit. So of course, my reaction, I went to grab him, and come to find out that the child was autistic, and he shouldn't have been down there by himself. But he looked just like, I've experienced that with other children, that they were never supposed to be wrong with them, right? So it all looked the same. However, I think that it's a uphill battle, because we have to educate the society. We have to educate the community. They just need to understand that who these children are, what it looked like. And that's pretty much, they just have to understand. It's like I'm educating myself with that type of disability, you know. And the fact that I have a child with special needs is more visible. With children with autism, sometimes it's not that visible. They just look like any other child. And then I had one young lady, she said that she lives in Frederick, Maryland. She actually took her child to the police department down there, had them take a picture of her child, and her neighbors know who her child is, what he looked like, and let the police department know he's autistic, so on and so forth. So that's kind of one way, because if you know, it's like if they just see a child act out, and this big grown man, and he's looking at, oh, he's just having some kind of problem, let's go deal with it. And the child, you know, has away. Yes. So I thought that was a good idea that she did that. And when I share that information with other parents, they're like, wow, I never thought about that, you know? And, you know, so, and then even in that situation, they still need to be trained. They need to be trained, you know, that how to even handle. It's not about trying to hurt, because they're not trying to hurt nobody. They're just, you know, they just have their situation. So the police department, they need to be trained as well, and know how to identify in the difference, you know. So that's what I would say with that. Yes, ma'am.
Praise be to Allah. And before I turn it over to Brother West, we have a question in our chat. They said, Assalamu alaikum, can you explain what sound theory is?
Okay, sound theory, it's called sound bath, or sound, sound bath. Let me just say that. That is where they take the singing bowls. It's like the crystal singing bowls. And each crystal or each singing bowl actually have different notes. So as they use it, it's like also like a meditation. And so, you know, you're dealing with the chakras. Each one of them have a different note. And so you're dealing with your chakras, and it's opening blockages that's in the body. You might even have a vision. You might see colors. You know, you might experience something. Most of it, if not all of it, that I've experienced was all good. So by the time you come up out of it, you have this wonderful, because you might even get a release, meaning something that was triggering you, or something that might have been bothering you, in that, because of the opening of the chakras from the different notes of this crystal bowls, or the singing bowls. It just kind of took care of that. So it's a wonderful experience. It's almost something that you have to, sound therapy, sound bath / sound therapy. That's what Sister Latifah, exactly. But you almost have to experience it to so you can, it's not a bad thing, that's for sure.
Yeah. Praise be to Allah. Wonderful. Well, definitely our audience can definitely look that up. And, you know, when Sister Latifah has those classes that's offered, like she said, the community and the village needs to be educated. So along with these retreats with the caregivers, you know, if we have as a village show up as well, we can help each other. Praise be to Allah. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Brother West. He has some questions that he would like to ask to you, Brother West.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Walaikum salam.
Praise be to Allah. So, Sister Kimarie, I first wanted to ask you if you can just describe the process from healing from mental health issues. At places like the mall, I often see caregivers helping their patients to operate in the world and complete basic functions as they begin to grow into adulthood. So I wanted to know, how does one grow from the level of first being diagnosed to becoming a contributing member of society?
That's a good question. And honestly, Brother Wesley, correct?
Brother West.
Brother West, I'm sorry. I don't actually have the answer because I'm in the middle of it myself as far as my son. Each child and each person is different, and each parent have to still, like we do any other child, we have to take a look at that child and kind of see, try to identify what they like. They have their own things that they like. Their life may not be, it depends on where they are on the spectrum too, and how functionable they are as far as going out in society. You know, some of us as adults, honestly, have not, we're like on the spectrum. We was not diagnosed, but we have gotten jobs, we've gone to college and so on and so forth. So that's possible. But it all depends on where the child is. With my son, he doesn't have, he's not autistic, but he has cerebral palsy. He's not that cookie cutter person, you know, so you have to just, meaning when I say it like that, it's like he just never fit in where he was, even when he was in school. He was very intelligent, but they clunked him in where he was with children that was low functioning, you know, mentally, which he was not happy, you know. And I tried to, you know, see, well, like, why can't he be in another setting? However, you know, it's a struggle to try to make sure that your child get the best, you know, in society and do the best, or, you know, what they can, you know, but it's really on it, depending on, again, going back to where the child is, how high function they are as far as what they can do in society. So each parent has to, it's like case by case, really, you know. So, you know, you have to just take a look and see where your child is.
Yes, ma'am. Understood. Can you share the level of commitment it takes to raise a child with special needs and what you say to those parents who may be on the same journey as you are?
Well, I know for me, when I found out about Jabril's situation, oh my gosh, it was, now I already had 2 children. For me, it was a deeper love. I had started writing a book, and it's called Deeper Love, because I felt such a love I've never felt before. It was all about my son. It was all about him. Here it is, this child that have this situation. I have to take care of him, you know, and I felt such a love. I didn't care. It was, I mean, it was very stressful. It was all about him. It was truly all about my son, loving him, taking care of him, making sure he get what he needs, taking him to the doctors, making sure that whatever the doctors are saying, knowing what I know as far as in the nation, you're just not going to just do anything to him and, you know, give him any kind of stuff. But at the same time, you are a little vulnerable because you're like, I just want my child to be okay, you know. So, but you have to use a little common sense and have to tell these doctors, no, You're not going to do this. Okay, I'll try that, but no, you're not going to do this. You have to stand your ground, but not at the same time, not put your child in a dangerous situation. Because I know at one time my son went through so much to where I was like, he needed a feeding tube. And I just broke down and cried. I was like, look, he'd been through so much. He had 2 hip surgeries. Y'all want to put a rod in his back? And I told you, no, you're not putting no rod in his back. And I said, just let nature take its course. And I ended up breaking down and say, okay, let's do the feeding tube. Because I ended up talking to a Sister Halima in Richmond, because I didn't hear any good things about the feeding tube. I kept hearing like, well, they get infected and things like that. But then I talked to Sister Halima in Richmond, and she said, Kim, my mom, I'm taking care of my mother, and she has a Mickey feeding tube, and I haven't had any problems. She said, and you're a clean person. You take care of Jabril very well. You should have no problems. And that's all I needed to hear. And I went on and I said, okay, let's do it. And it was the best thing really for Jabril, that I'm glad that I made that decision. But I needed to hear something good first, So, oh my gosh, it's a love that I've never felt before. And even till today, it's like when he's all right, I'm all right. When he's smiling, and he smiles all the time. He's a happy young man. And he listens to the minister. When he was in the hospital, in the isolate, because he had to stay in the hospital before 3 months to the due date. I would put the minister, I would put like a little teeny tape recorder in his isolate with him, and let the minister play. And so till today, the minister, Jabril will play the minister on his computer, and then he will call me and to let me know that he's listening to the minister, or he's listening to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or he's listening to Malcolm X, or watching the Malcolm X movie, so he's so funny. And then he'll ask me, are you happy now, Mom? I was like, yes, I'm happy. You listen to the minister. So he has a great sense of humor. I just love my son. I love him so much. It's all about him. As long as, I'm like Mama Bear. I'm like that with all of my children, but it's something, it's a deeper love. That's all I can say. It's a deeper love for sure.
Yes, man. Praise be to Allah. And as you just shared, being a member of the nation has helped you protect your son, even against the doctors and different situations like that. So how has Islam helped you to raise your son through this challenge and ultimately help him to become better, basically?
Well, I would say one of the things is diet. He's never had any pork. He's never had any like bologna or, hot dogs. He's never had that kind of stuff. So I know I prayed to Allah to bless him to be healthy and stay out of the hospital and for major stuff, especially after he's gone through, certain major surgeries already. Excuse me. One of the things, like I say, he gets a lot of vegetables. He get bean soup all the time, bean soup, lentil soup, that's his diet. And the raw milk, I think I had to pull him back off the raw milk a little bit, but the nurses, we make sure he gets plenty of water. Basically, like I say, the diet, and he's not on any medication. I know when I take him to the doctors and you have to fill out, forms and any medicine. And what I remember, his GI doctor, they asked me, they said, you haven't finished filling out the forms. I was like, yes, I did. Yes, I have. And so they was like, well, what about his medication? I said, he's not on any medication. And when I say that, they become kind of shocked because most people got a list of stuff. But Jabril is not on any medication. The only medication is like the nebulizer as needed, if he needs it, if he catches a cold or, have a cough for whatever reason. like a kind of like a wheezing a little bit. Um, he's not on it's as needed. Yeah, Motrin if we need it because of a fever or any cold medicine. That's basically it. But on a daily basis, he get vitamin C and vitamin D3 and things like that. Just some natural, just basic vitamins that I try to give him. And all I can say, I'm just very thankful. I think about that all the time. As we are told to sit back and just look at your blessings. And that is one of them. I'm so, so very grateful and very thankful that Allah has blessed my son to be in such a better condition health-wise. And I've done my best, and I'm doing my best just to keep him healthy like that. I don't give him a lot of sugar. I give him his little sweets, but he doesn't get a lot of it. If it's a cookie, I try to watch what type it is, where I'm getting it from, just those things that we're taught. And even myself, whatever I try, I do the same thing for him. If I go to the holistic doctor, I take him to the holistic doctor. Yes, it costs because it doesn't, the holistic doctor is not going to take his insurance. They don't take insurance. But whatever I do for my body, I try it first. It works for me. I try it, then I give it to him and I watch it, so just to keep him as healthy as possible.
Yes, man. All praises due to Allah. And I also meant to ask you about your other children besides Jabril. I know you mentioned that you had a few other children before you had your son. So can you share how Islam has helped you raise them as well?
Well, when my first two sons, my first son, I wasn't in the nation. So my second son, that's when I came in. He was a baby. So he was born in 1990 and I came in 91. And so, yeah. So I would say my oldest son, he saw the change in my life, which was really a good example. And I remember telling him, I say, you being my oldest, you saw before the nation and you saw after while I'm in the nation and how it changed my life, because he was going through some stuff and he kind of got himself into some trouble. And I say, you don't have to live this way. You see how it changed my life, right? He said, yeah, and so I'm very thankful for that because that's an example that you can change your life. Because he saw, by him being my oldest, he saw how I was before. Not that I was so bad, but still, it was, we all have our past, like I said, coming in the nation, and it's just a whole different way of living. So they saw the ups and downs, before and after. And so I'm very thankful for that because at least they see that you don't have to continue down a certain road. You can change your life, so my grandson and my son, all of them, they all I make bean pies, butternut squash pot, and they love them. And my grandson, my oldest grandson, just recently tried the bean pie. And I was surprised that because he's a real picky eater. And my son said, Jalen loved the bean pie. I was like, okay, so now when he comes over and he asks me, Grandma, you have a bean pie? And I was like, either yes or no, because sometimes I'll just keep a few in the freezer or whatever. And, so that's what I could say about that question.
Yes, man. That sounds great. And I did a little bit of research and I found your song that was Push for Love, which was on Spotify. And I listened to it. I really liked the song. There was a verse that stood out to me. The verse said, we are like a treasure waiting to be explored. No matter the weather, if you believe, then you will soar. Love what I see, spending time with me, getting to know me for the world to see. That verse really kind of struck a chord with me because I wanted to know how a friend or family member or just even everyday person can get to know those people with those certain, problems to build a real relationship.
Now, that verse, that verse came about. I would just speak on this part. That verse came about because there was a time where I was not really going to the mosque for a minute because I had to physically like be home. Things just changed in my life. I'm about 45 minutes away from the mosque. Now really about 50 minutes away from the mosque. When I first started going to mosque number 4, I was closer to DC at the time. But then moved about 45 minutes to 50 minutes away. You know, things just change in your life. And then I had to be closer to home. And that's kind of when Push for Love really started to develop. It started coming to me and what I wanted to do with it. And I just focused a lot on the logo, what I wanted, you know, just getting it started, spending time with me. And I start loving spending time with myself. And at that time, that's when I would jot down certain things that would stand out to me, learning to be by myself and learning to be with me, and then loving that part, you know, loving being with yourself. And that's what I started to do, you know. And I was like, wow, I really love being with myself, because what was happening, I started realizing what was inside of me, because our Push for Love was coming. I was getting all these ideas, and I just enjoyed spending time with myself. And I was like, we are like little treasure chests. If we just paid more attention and spend more time with yourself, you'll find so much within yourself, you know, that you would just love. And I've experienced that. And that's where that lyric, you know, those lyrics come from. You know, I jotted them down, and it came into, you know, the Push for Love song. You know, the whole song itself actually came from either something that I heard that I was able to resonate with, or my own personal experience. And then I just jotted it down. And that's how the song came about.
Yes, man. It was a wonderful song, definitely.
Thank you. Praise be to Allah.
And speaking more on your Push for Love program, I wanted to know if you can share some of the testimonies from parents and caregivers who have attended your seminars and motivational events.
Yeah, I had one parent. She said to me, she said, Kim, you know, all these years, I think her daughter's close to 40 now. She said, all these years, I would take my daughter to all types of events. And I always take her places. But all these years, I've never had anyone that had anything for me. She said, so I came to your retreat, and it was wonderful. And I'm so, so thankful that you're doing this. I will be back, you know, in the next one. And I have a little video of her saying this. A lot of them, actually, at the end of the retreat, the videographer will actually do a little interview with each one of them. And they just tell me that, or in the video, they say they love it. It was a warm and loving environment. They were able to express themselves, which before they wasn't, you know. A lot of times what happens is, as well, by me talking to them, we don't really have anybody to talk to, because other people, if you're not experiencing what we're going through, you don't really understand it. You know, you really just don't understand it. So it's kind of lonely a little bit. The thing about that now, they have someone or a group of people that can actually come together, and they feel safe expressing themselves and talking about their situation, you know. And that's part of what Push for Love is doing, you know, just bringing the community together, introducing each other to each other, and we can talk about it. They understand it, and we can share actually information where one, you know, didn't know is doing something. She can share it with the other parent, and the parent's like, I never thought about that, you know. So the retreats, it's just a blessing, you know. And I'm so forever grateful to Allah for putting it on my heart to do this. You know, they all pretty much say the same thing. It's a nice, warm environment, and we're just going to keep doing it. It's just the beginning. We're just getting started. So I'm trying to, as it grows, I have a vision. I see something. You know, it's a movement, basically. Yeah. So.
Yes, man, that sounds wonderful. And I wanted to switch gears a little bit and ask you, when you're not, you know, being a caregiver, helping your son, or just a parent to your other children and also your grandchildren, how do you relax and debrief?
Great question. Well, you know, honestly, I never really had a problem going and spending time with myself. There was a time, you know, as far as going out to dinner by myself, it was kind of weird at first, you know, or I would go to the hotel and spend a weekend just to be by myself. And I started doing these things. And I was like, wow, this is wonderful. I really love doing this, you know, go to the beach, go get a massage. I would do things like I was speaking earlier, lymphatic massage. I would go just to do some of these natural healing therapies. I love it. You know, just go get a Reiki treatment. You know, it's like I do all of these things. You know, I'm just so thankful to where I'm like, what can I do for me today? You know, and if I have to take a ride to go visit someone, sometimes you just have to get away from your regular environment, not just, you know, just go outside. That helps. But if you could take a drive, I love to drive because it's the scenery. It's very therapeutic for me. You know, it's what you see. You look up in the sky. I mean, it's so beautiful. You know, I'm a sky watcher too. I see all kind of stuff. So and I'm so grateful for it. But I do things like that for myself. I don't have a problem. God knows I don't have a problem whatsoever to just step away. But I have to make sure he's okay first. I don't just do that because then I can't enjoy myself. It's not fair when I see he's not with the right nurse or his spirit is not right. When he's right and he got the right nurse, then I know I can step away for a few minutes and tend to me, and then I come back, you know, but he got to be right first. I just don't leave in, you know, if I, for some reason, just have to step away, I don't go far. I may go outside, but I mean, like really take a drive or stay overnight somewhere. Yeah, he has to be right. And he's such a old soul. He's a very mature man, young man. So, and I have a camera, as a matter of fact, to where I can look in and see what's going on. And then I can speak through the camera and talk to him and the nurse at the same time. So he can always hear my voice, even when I'm not physically in the house. So yes, I don't have a problem. I do all kind of stuff for myself. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. All praises due to Allah. And our guests in the chat, they're definitely showing a lot of love. And we have an audience question as well. A sister wants to know a little bit more about the Push for Love events. But before we get to that, I'll just go ahead to our station ID. You are listening to WHID-FM. Thank you for tuning in and spending your valuable time, because without you, there is no WHID-FM. If you have any suggestions, please email us at WHID1919@gmail.com. And also, please subscribe to WHID-FM on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. And family, WHID-FM will not air next week. We will return on June 23rd, and our guests will be Brother Horace and his wife, Sister Letitia X. So make sure you tune in for that wonderful show. Praise be to Allah. And our next question will be an audience question from Sister Tracy. And as I said, she wants to know a little bit more about the Push for Love events. So her question is, when and where are these retreats? How often do they happen? Also, it is beautiful to see so many believers with special needs being so visible. We need this because our special needs deserve to be visible in a big way in our communities.
Okay. Well, I'm located in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and the retreats, we normally do the retreats like twice a year. It's the October one we do. We don't have to, but I always do an October because that's the time that we started. That was the first month we started was in October. So we always do an October one, and then we'll do another one somewhere in the spring, summertime. Because the retreat, this July 20th, I think it is. Yes, it's the 20th. It's the boat ride. And I call that our second retreat, or the first retreat for this year, because sometimes I just want to do something different for us. Sometimes we just need to get away, be around us, our community, people that understand what we're going through, and be on the boat. You have some food, and you get a little DJ there, you're on the water, you can mingle and just relax, So that's what we're going to do July 20th, next month. And then the second retreat is going to be October the 5th. It's going to be at the Pooks Hill Marriott, which is in Bethesda, Maryland. And that's when we're going to have the sound therapy and the breakfast buffet. And we're going to have like a little entertainment as far as singing, a couple of singers and spoken words, and have people to speak. And I don't know, may have to have Sister Latifah to come and be our motivational speaker for that day. She doesn't know. I was going to ask her. However, as far as getting in touch with me, I can give my phone number, because you can email me, which is pushforloveinc@gmail.com. I just want to make sure I'm giving that right, because that's one of my new emails. If you want to talk to me, one of the other things that I am going to do is have a Push for Love travel. Push for Love, we're going to travel. Our retreats are going to travel. So don't know which city we're going to start in, but that is the goal as well. But my number is, I will give my number. If anybody wants it, you can take it down and give me a call, 301-793-0679. And then, yes, Brother West put it in the chat. It's pushforloveinc@gmail.com. Yes, that's the email. You can email me. You can give me a call, and then we can talk. And we might even be wherever you are. We could probably say, hey, we can come there and have a retreat in your city. So that's the goal, because we're going to start traveling. There we go. Yes.
Yes, man. God, praise be to Allah. So make sure you reach out if you would like to be a part of those events, or even want to inquire about the different services. So my next question for you, before I turn it back over to Sister Janine, would be, what has Islam done for you?
You speaking it to me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, shoot. Islam has done so much. Oh, my gosh. I mean, where do I start? It's like, it has helped me in so many ways because of how this world is. It's a lot of things I can say, but whatever just comes to my mind right now, starting Push for Love is one, learning to love myself is another, being patient with myself, not being so hard on myself, because we do that a lot, just learning to love me. Knowing that, we make mistakes, it's going to happen, but just stay the course, stay in the game, and just keep on pushing, it's like Allah will forgive you. You got to forgive yourself, so Islam has done so. Those just a few little things, and it has helped. When thinking about this world, you see where you don't want to be, and it's like, while I was there, no judgment on other people, our brothers or sisters, because we were there at one time, and so Islam has helped me to not be judgmental when you see other people in a certain condition. That's not really your job to do. The thing is making sure you help them, but you got to help yourself and make sure that you're digesting what we're being taught and applying it in your own life, and then you help when you can help, So, I mean, I could go on. It has done so much for me, and I'm so very thankful. Oh my gosh, I'm so very thankful for Islam, So, yeah, I'll just stop right there because I know we don't have much more time.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you for your answer, and thank you for your wonderful responses. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Sister Janine.
Thank you, Brother West. So I have a question that was sent over to ask. You mentioned earlier about pushing for love. And a lot of times that's something our people struggle with, just pushing to love themselves, pushing to love each other, and just pushing through trials. What practical steps has Islam given you to help you push for love and push through trials?
Well, a lot of the times, honestly, when I'm in moments like that, I hear the minister. I hear him because he gives us so many examples for himself of himself, and everybody, some things that we go through is similar, some things are different, So a lot of times when I'm going through stuff, I'm like, okay, it's kind of like, what would Jesus do? What would Jesus do in this situation? But it's like, what would the minister do? And you can always a lot of times pull up something of what you're going through. The minister have explained, or it gave an example of himself of how to handle a situation. I'm not saying it was easy. It's not that it's easy or anything, but I know for me, sometimes you just have to learn how to just be quiet for a moment, not to react. Depending on whatever it is, not to react. Take some deep breath, go in your room, just go by yourself for a second, and calm it down. And just be quiet for a minute and allow the energy to settle so that you can think and process properly. Again, I'm not saying that it's easy, but that's the best way to deal with it. Because I have found myself, and I'm okay with saying this, because sometimes you have to kind of go. I've gotten so angry because of my situation with the nurses, and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, and the agency, they're not doing. And that is one of the situations that I deal with often. I would get so angry to where I start feeling it in my body, and it started to affect me physically. And I didn't like that feeling. I was so stressed, and I allowed the situation to get me to that point. And I'm like, nope, you got to push for love, Kim. And what that meant to me is you have to learn how to manage your stress, manage your anger. You have to change this. Love yourself enough. Do not allow the situation and these people to get you so worked up. Look what it's doing. So now that I see how stress actually affected my body physically, it affected my kidneys. I'm taking kidney support to bring me back up to where the functions, like let's say, for instance, it's supposed to be a 0. It's supposed to be a 10. I was at a 0. Now I'm at a 9 because I had to go to the holistic doctor, and then they gave me what I needed, and it's slowly building up. That was stress that did that. Okay, now I know. I'm not allowing that to happen anymore. If I get up, I have to stop myself. And we all have to be responsible enough. But I'm thankful for going to that. Sometimes we got to go, it's like going so high and so upset. You get yourself so upset to where you can't even get upset no more. And then you see what happens when you're so stressed. Now you have to correct it.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. And the next question I have, you had mentioned earlier about you don't leave your son unless you find a nurse that you feel comfortable with. And I know there may be other caregivers or, parents that have children with special needs. How do you discern, or do you have a checklist in your mind that you say, okay, I can leave my child with this person or that person, and when I can do something for myself, I don't feel guilty, or I don't feel like I need to rush or feel like I can't do for myself, because you have the proper discernment or a checklist that you use to know that's the proper caregiver?
Well, I have two nurses that one been here for over 10 years. Now, when she's on shift, she's on board, I know it's a go. I'm okay because she knows Jabril. She's seen the ups and downs. She knows them. Along with my mother, she'll come if it's an overnight thing, like if I go to Savior's Day, my mother comes and be with him when after the nurse leaves. So I'm very thankful for her. But if it's a new nurse, I don't even plan. I don't plan nothing. I ain't going nowhere. It's just not happening. You know, I'm just gonna have to wait because it's a new nurse and it's somebody that I have to see how they function. You know, it takes time. You know, if they're going to be dependable, you know, just a whole lot. Do they operate right? You know, are they going to listen to what I'm saying to do or not to do with my son? I have to watch them for a while. So if it's a new nurse and depending on the day, I have to plan around that. You know, a lot of times I plan on days that I know the nurse that's been here for a while, and I know them, they know Jabril, you know, I'm cool with who they are and how they perform. So I plan around that. If for some reason it happened to be a new nurse, I have my mother, not brand new, but they've been here for a minute, but they still kind of new. I'll have my mother to come in absence of me for me to go, you know, but I always have a talk with Jabril. Jabril always let me know. I let him know everything that I'm doing, that I'm actually leaving. Grandma's going to be here. I'm going to communicate with you while I'm gone, you know. And I said, are you okay with that? And he said, yeah, I'm cool. I'm cool with that, Mom. I'm cool with that. So when he gives me the okay, it soothes my spirit. But I don't just leave for sure. I'm not selfish like that. And it's important, but it's not that important because I'm not going to, I feel guilty. I do feel guilty if I'm trying to enjoy myself and I done left him with a nurse that I may not trust, you know. So I'm not going to do that. It has to be a win-win, you know, and I'll say it that way. The nurse he's okay with the nurse. I trust her. My mother's here, you know, it has to be that way. Because once it's done, once I set it up like that, then I can go away and enjoy myself as well, you know. So, yeah, that's how I do it.
Praise be to Allah. And Sister Tracy said in the chat, she said, do they have the right spirit and energy? All of that matters. Praise be to Allah.
Absolutely.
And she also said there's a lot of sacrifices that come with being blessed to love and care for a special seed. I love how she put being blessed, because a lot of times people, or either the parents or, you know, a community, we can see it as a burden, but, you know, we don't realize that's a blessing. And one thing I can say I personally experienced with anyone with special needs, they seem to always be positive. And it's so beautiful when you can have someone in a world that is full of negativity, full of chaos. Yes. When you have somebody with special needs, always have something nice to say, always asking how you're doing, are you okay, putting a smile on your face. And we definitely need that. So that is definitely a blessing, Sister Tracy. Thank you for pointing that out. And one of the final questions that I have for you, some people may not know about how to teach someone with special needs. So how do you instill Islam with your son, even with him being in special needs, having special needs?
I like she said special seed.
Yes.
That is beautiful. Can I use that, Sister Tracy? Because some people, you know, we kind of dance around that word special needs, disability. People don't want to say, so we try to bring up, you know, different words to use. But special needs, they are. They have special needs. You know, it's not a bad thing. So that in itself, but I love special seed. That is beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you. I'm sorry. Say that last piece again, sister.
Yes, ma'am. How do you instill Islam with your son?
You know, and I think because Jabril, when he was still in the hospital, I would take a little recorder with the minister and I would stick it inside of his isolate, because by him being premature, he had to stay till the due date because he had to gain his weight and all that kind of stuff. And I would take remember they used to have these little teeny recorders, and I would put it in there and play the minister. So I think the minister just was already in him from that, because I was like, my baby needs to heal. He needs to grow. He got to get healthy. So I put a positive word. That was the minister. How good can you get with that, right? So, he just know who the minister is. He watches the minister. One thing about Jabril, he's such a wonderful child. He has a great sense of humor. He used to come to the mosque when he was little, but now he's older, so it's a little challenging. But he know who the minister is, and he loved the history. So I teach him. He has the pictures of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad with Muhammad Ali, because my son, he loves kickboxing and boxing and wrestling, so I kind of bring that in, with all the other stuff that he have on his wall that he loved. But he listens to the minister. I talk to him about who we are and how we got here, slavery, and who the minister is, who Master Farad Muhammad is. I just give it to him. And he said, Mama, I didn't know. And I started laughing. I was like, I said, Jabril, Mommy didn't know either. So now I know. Now you know. I can teach you. Now you know. And he said, but I didn't know. I was like, I didn't know either. We'll smile about it. He has such a great sense of humor, but I just give it to him. He loved history. He loved to know history, like where we come from. He just loves that. Like we start talking about roots and things like that, his eyes get big. He want to know, like, give me more, So he's really open to it. I just give him the teachings, I teach him who, like I say, Master Farad Muhammad, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Farrakhan, even Malcolm X, because he watches that on TV, on his laptop, and he will watch it for hours and hours, so it's in him. It's in him.
Praise be to Allah. And my last question that I have for you that's been asked, have you been in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's presence?
Yes, ma'am. I was on the Torchlight serving team, and that was a beautiful process. That was a beautiful experience, I should say. And I had to travel, from it was the Mid-Atlantic region when he would come to, DC or in that area. However, Sister Latifah was on the team as well. Sister Sadaka, Sister Nisa Islam, Sister Sharita, Sister Aisha, was quite a few of us. And I was one of the servers. So it was such a blessing to be in his presence. And there was a couple of times where it was last minute and they was like, Kim, can you go over there? He's here, And I was like, sure. Of course, always nervous to be in his presence. But yeah, I wouldn't say no to that. So yes, I have. I've been in his presence several times. Yes, absolutely.
Praise be to Allah. That's so beautiful. Anytime we get a chance to be in Jesus' presence is such a blessing.
It is.
Thank you. Praise be to Allah. Well, we definitely thank you for sharing your story. This is something that we need to share often and be more consistent in it, because like we're taught, Islam has all the answers. We just have to be able to know where to go and know how to unite with each other and use our village to be able to get the answers to the questions that we need. And before we go to our host, Brother Donald, we just have a few announcements for our audience. If you like what you heard today, and I'm sure you did, you can learn more about the Nation of Islam by going to www.noy.org/go study. We have weekly webcasts on Sundays at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Or you can reach out to one of the local mosques in your city. If you do not know where it's located, of course, go to NOI.org. You can listen to all of our previous webcasts and just get to know more about your nation. Final Call Radio, download it on all your devices, take it with you. You know, a lot of us are not listening to the radio now, but the one radio you need to be listening to is Final Call Radio. Have the minister in your ear everywhere you go 24/7. And speaking of Final Call, the Final Call newspapers in your local cities, if you have it, you can go to www.finalcall.com to get it. You can see one of our brothers on the street to get a Final Call newspaper. And don't forget to get a subscription for our brothers and sisters that are in prison. You can get them a Final Call subscription as well. You can see the topic of this week's paper, Prolong Your Life, which is also always a beautiful topic because that's something that we definitely need to know. And last but not least, do you want a book that greatly empowers your precious children and showcases their self-worth? Look no further than I Never Knew I'm All That, Book 1. This highly recommended book from WHID-FM will provide the reassurance and affirmation for your child's needs. Invest in your child's confidence and self-love with this must-read book, available now on Amazon.com. I Never Knew I'm All That, Book 1, written by our host, Brother Donald Muhammad, illustrations by Sister Amina Lay. So with that, I will turn it over to Brother Donald, who will close us out and get it to our Muhammad moment. Brother Donald?
All praises due to Allah. Sister Kimarie, that was precious. We thank you for your valuable time and information. It's been a real joy for everybody involved. We'd like to ask you, do you have any books or service? I know you have services, products that you'd like for us to know about?
I'm in the process of writing a book. My experience with a child with special needs. It's called A Deeper Love. I haven't finished that, but that will be coming. As far as any products, on my website, pushforlovegives.com, that I have apparel there, you know, hoodies and sweatshirts and t-shirts. What else I have on caps? You know, so I have quite a few things there. And a percentage, you know, by purchasing the products, a percentage goes towards helping the nonprofit.
Allahu Akbar. There it is.
Yes.
All praises due to Allah. Like you say, you have caps, hoodies, sweatshirts, and
Sweatpants.
Yes. And there's not only just receiving an item, but you're doing something good. Push for Love. Wonderful. Wonderful. May Allah continue to bless you in extraordinary ways for all that you do. All praises due to Allah.
All praises due to Allah. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. And I've got to thank my extraordinary team, the WHIFM team, Brother Wesley, Brother West, Sister Janine, Sister Latifa, and the unseen. Special shout out to my wife, Sister Cynthia Muhammad, the unseen force behind Brother Donald. And, you know, in thanking all these, we have to thank Allah, most importantly, for coming to America for a short time. He left, he raised one up, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and those two are no longer among us, but there's one among us, and the world will soon know who he is and recognize him for who he is. He is the Messiah. He is the last chance. He is the servant of God on earth. He is the voice of God. He is the honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan. So we thank them over and over again, for without them and without these teachings, there'd be no Brother Donald Muhammad and certainly no WHID-FM. So with that, we're going to turn it over to Brother Wesley, who's going to take us into our Muhammad moment, and then Brother West will close us in prayer. Love you, family. Thank you, listening audience, for tuning in consistently. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Yes, sir. Today's Muhammad moment is brought to you by the lecture by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan entitled "Love Ye One Another Even as I Have Loved You." This was delivered at Muhammad Mosque number 7 in New York on December 12, 2004. This lecture and many more can be found at store.finalcall.com. So let's enjoy today's Muhammad moment. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Lovest thou me? Then on the airwaves, brother, feed the sheep of God.
Yes, sir.
Lovest thou me? And when you have a chance, feed the little ones.
There you go. There you go.
Don't forget the children.
Thank you, brother.
Don't forget the babies. They are the most priceless gift of God to us is our children. So while you're feeding, prepare something for the babies. Then you will demonstrate how much you love God, like a woman who says to her husband, "Oh, sweetheart, I love you so much." You do, baby? Yes, you know I love you. Well, tell me this. If you love me, why does my child look like the neighbor down the street?
You got to ask a question.
Is that a rough one?
You got to ask a question.
I didn't mean it in that jocular kind of way, but what I'm trying to say is, if you love Jesus and you love Muhammad, then you make children that look like him.
Yes. Yes.
That's what I'm saying. So if you tell me you love the prophet, then everywhere I look, I should see him being produced again and again and again by the way you handle the word of the Quran. If you tell me you love Jesus, then I should see Jesus everywhere I look when I'm among Christians. I should not only see him, I should feel his presence. You didn't hear me? That's what gives meaning to the words, where there are 2 or 3 of you gathered together in my name, there I am also in the midst of you. You cannot bury a prophet of God. You can only bury the flesh that he traveled in.
Come on.
This is why the Quran teaches, speak not of those who die or are slain in the way of God as dead. They are alive, but you understand not. How does Jesus live? How does Moses live? How does Abraham live? How does Muhammad live? How do we live? We live by embodying the principles that undergirded their lives. Then they live again in us. Does that make sense? So that's what a minister's words on the radio gave to me to give to you.
And now we'll go to prayer. Attention, prayer. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Rahmanirrahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim. Ghayril maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum, family.